What's love got to do? Oh my God. Alright, so you're in your car, and then you're singing, you know, stupid songs. And then you see someone on the street. You might turn because they're dressing, you know, really strangely, or they could just drop dead gorgeous. Well, Mr. Bureau Brunel says, if people turn and look at you on the street, you are not well dressed. I don't really believe in that quote because, I mean, you could not be well dressed, but then, in other words, you could be really well dressed. So, you know, you could be walking down the street and, you know, occasionally just talking, and then all of a sudden, you like just glancing at everybody, and then you turn and look, and you see one of your friends, and he says that they're not well dressed. Well, maybe they are, but they're just one of your friends. So you go up and say hi to them, you greet them, and then you might not have seen them in a while, and you're glad to see them. And then, on the other hand, you could have what he says, turn and look on the street and see someone that's not well dressed. Well, so you're driving, and you see this dude with a, I don't know, a mohawk, like 3 feet tall. His mohawk's like another 3 feet, so he's 6 feet tall. And he has, you know, tattooed tank top on with Speedos. You know, she's like, dang, he's not well dressed. Well, I think that's what he saw. You know, when he turned and looked at Mr. Bureau, when he turned and looked at someone on the street, when he saw that, like, that's what I imagine he saw. This little 3-foot midget with 6-foot, you know, hair and a Speedo. He was like, man, I have to do something with this, because I'm just going to make up a quote so everyone can use. So he came up with this because of that scenario. It could be true. But then on the other hand, I kind of don't agree with it, because you could be with your buddy and walking down the street in Beverly Hills. Imagine that Rodeo Drive. And, you know, you're going shopping, and you see all these beautiful people, rich people, that makes them more beautiful. And so you're going, walking, looking at, oh my God. I have never seen anything more beautiful than that person. I'm just in awe. Man, should I go up and talk to her? Nah, dude, she'll think I'm stupid. Dude, what? I have to do something that is, this is like once in a lifetime. I mean, should I? I don't know. What do I do? So, you know, you just get up the nerves, you go talk to that person, and say, you know what? I once heard a quote by Mr. Bureau Brunel, and he says, if people turn and look at you on the street, you are not well dressed. And you know what? That's why I looked at you. And that's an icebreaker, you know? You don't want to flatter a girl right off the bat. You want to make her think like, man, am I really not well dressed? And then you use Mr. Brumel's quote, and you know, you get her number. And then you end up marrying her. You never have to work a day in your life because she's already rich. So, thanks to this man's quote in our speech class, thanks to me presenting it to you guys, you're going to be well off in life. Thank you.
Anything related to life? Yeah. Solid. Solid.
All right, Michael, you've got a lot of descriptive actions and behaviors in the speech. I think at the start it's a little bit awkward because we don't quite know what's going on. Your point of view at the start sounds pretty solid, but when you get to the end of the speech, it seems to be like you're going in a different direction. There's no setup of what the structure is, but you find some good things to talk about while you're speaking, and you've got some interesting ways of communicating them. I thought that there's a lot of energy in your voice at times, but it's not always consistent. Sometimes it's dropping out, sometimes it's overemphasizing the point. There is good variety in your voice, though. The pacing, there are a few places where there's some awkward pauses, maybe just a beat too long, and so instead of having the effect that you want it to have, it's mildly uncomfortable, but not a lot. There's one spot where you've got your hand in your pocket that looks a little bit awkward, but there are a lot of descriptive gestures, as we were talking about earlier. Your facial expressions, from the very beginning, you're very animated. It's clear to tell what your emotional state is and how you want us to read what you're talking about. I think you do that well. Your eye contact with the audience is inconsistent. A lot of times you're doing that acting out behavioral sort of thing, and that takes you out of engaging the audience and puts you into more of a performance situation, which is awkward. I do think that your anxiety comes out in your feet. There's a lot of movement, a little too much, the feet especially. You're pretty responsive to the audience, though. You let them, as they are feeding on what you're saying, you go through and follow up and have a couple of good examples there. And like I said, at the end of the speech, it seems like the point that you're making is a little bit different than you started off with, but you did have a point that you were trying to make there. All right, thank you. Could somebody get Eric? Thank you. He's our last impromptu speaker, and then we have one person doing a prepared speech.